All right, let's look into this. Since we did this in our use products here somewhere, we have a console log, right? So if response is okay, then store data in here, blah, 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 all the things I mentioned. But we have a console log, so we can actually start checking this before we start doing any of our HTML. So if you click Save, and you go to your browser and you open your console log, if it's not open, right click, inspect, and then console log. I now get a message here that says products fetched, and I can see in here I have 5 things in my array. And that should fit neatly with this one here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's not up. He did a change. There we go. 5 because I added the 1. And I can see these and I can expand them. And the last one should be Mr. Burns. Where is Mr. Burns? Here we go. 4th and Mr. Burns, right? Because that's the final one. It just gets used as a push. So we have ID. We have all these specific things we need from the system. So we know we're grabbing data and storing them inside Vue right now. Now we can start to add them in. So let's start with before anything else, let's start with this one up here. So we have a loading part. Again, this is the way I prefer doing it. I want to do if a test first, and then if else, 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 and so on. So it might seem weird for you, but eventually you might see the point. So I'm going to do a v-if up here for the loading part. So v-if and then loading. So depending on what this one is, this one we get here, this can be either true or false. So if it's true, then we have loading. And that comes from immediately it is set to false, but once this fetch gets loaded, we set it to true, right? So if there's a delay in the product, so it takes for some reason 2 seconds to show to the user, we will see loading products, or in this case just loading. That's great. Now, if we have an error, like connection issues and so on, we can do a v else, dash else if, and if you spell it correctly, that would be awesome. And we can pass through the error, which again is coming from here. So that's what we have down here. If this fails, we have an error, we can pass it through. And then we can print out the error, like page doesn't exist, something went wrong, whatever you really want. What I'm going to do is over here, I'm going to interpolate error. It would probably be better to like give the user a better information, like the data is not accessible, something like this. Or if you just want to use a default error, you can set those up in your backend, or just have whatever it is, or interpolate or write it yourself. It's really up to you. I'm just going to use it here, so as an interpolation. Here, in the div block here, for now I am with this flex wrap and then 2mx. It's probably going to give me an issue, but whatever. In this one, I'm going to do the final one, which is an v else. I don't need to push just like with a normal an if statement. You have the condition on this one, and then if this is not true, this is not true, it goes here, right? So once this is false, it goes to the next one. If this is false, or no error, if it's empty, null, or whatever, it skips this one, and then we print it out, right? And since we're using a Vue or React or whatever you could use, it will automatically update the system based on these things. So it's great. Now, here, this is the container for the card. So this will wrap, eventually goes from here and then all the way over to the page over here. And then that's the full one. Sorry. And on the next one here, where you have class, it says a lot of code, I am going to attach my v4, because we have at this point 5 products or 2 products, and whatever we are, v-4 equal, and in here, sorry, we will do a for in loop. That's how Vue uses most. If you're familiar with React, they use map a lot instead. On Angular is similar with a for loop and ng4. They just changed it. So product in products. Oops. Products is the array we pass through down here, which contains 5 objects. This is the iterative name. You can name this whatever you want. The usual consensus is when you have more than one item, you add the plural for this one, right? So products, and then over here it will be product for each iteration's name. So for each time it goes through, it will be named product. When using these for loops, Vue likes to use keys to make sure it updates correctly. So I'm going to do product.id. So if you can change this to name, price, whatever, doesn't really matter. So if something changes, it will make sure it will actually run. You can also do just product if you want to. No, we can't, I don't like that. But this will make sure it watches this product continuously for updates. The image right now is empty. So we need to attach, just like normal CSS, we would do this, oops, source, and then we'll like HTTP somewhere, right? But if when we're using Vue and we want to do an interpolation, so a dynamic data, we can't use these in here because that will give us an error when we do this, because this will be converted to a string, so we have to do it different. But if we in front of source just do colons here, or you can also do a vbind, you don't have to type bind now when you do this. Shorthand notation, you can do product, because singular version, dot, and then it was here already. I did it correctly. So I get the list that exists in the property already. Or these are the properties of the object we get, right? So you can also see it's an ID string, hidden is boolean, and so on. So I want the image URL. So again, if we set everything up correctly with these, the system will also help us more to complete it, so it makes us everything a little bit easier for us. H3 is the headliner, so product name. So I'm going to go product and oops, what was the title? Name, I guess, hopefully. And we have, next one was product description. I helped myself, great. Which will just be product.description, the first one here. Product price, I'll do the similar thing. I guess you know the drill now. Product price. And then down here we have two buttons. We're not going to use any yet. We will be doing this one later, add to cart. But let's click save. Let's see if you broke something, and let's go to the browser, and you can see here. So everything is the same image, right? Because what we did with the backend, we just used the Pixum generator, Pixum image. These one, you probably maybe know these. It's great. So I'll just generate a random image with the size you want. So this is why you can see it here, Pixum photo and 500/500. So we get in a 500/500 resolution, and we can just scale it with CSS and so on. But now we have a active and working system. So loading, and once this is true, it switches and then presents us with the actual data from Mongo. So this is updated data. So if I go in and change, remove, this will automatically update as well.